So this is kind of a combination of stuff from what I wanted you to know already, and then how to proceed going forward. So that's where we're at with that. And until we come back to school, either partially or altogether, I'm trying to figure out a way where most of what I can do can also be put online for, just our YouTube channel or even little pieces of it. Because even though we're going to talk about a lot today, I know you're not going to go back and watch a full 2 hours of this to get to like the minute mark where we talk about bright futures, for example. So how best I can break that up, I'm still trying to figure out, especially since things are changing so quickly. Once I'm through with these English classes, there will be a time where hopefully next week, I could do this again live for your parents, so that you can see the same thing and tell them, look, Mom, I told you I wasn't crazy. That's what she said, or that's how we do things. And then we can have sort of a live chat then too. So that's forthcoming, hopefully sooner than later. But first, I have to beg you to please, please, please keep going with that TerraWolves.com site. I know a lot of you have been checking it recently to find out which way your teachers are logging on. But the college advising tab, I really, really try really hard to keep that as current and updated as possible. I want to say to the minute, but that's giving me a little too much credit. But I have been known to pull over on the side of the road or at a red light and like update something as I found it. So I could be a little crazy like that, I guess. But I know the process is a difficult one. I know there's a lot of questions you have that you might only come across at like midnight when you're doing these applications. So I've really tried to keep up on all of the information you might need as needed. So if you're, doing the Common App at 2 a.m. and you're like, how many kids are in this class? Or what is my GPA rank? That kind of stuff. Please go to the college advising tab, specifically under the FAQ section, where I am trying really hard to keep a tally of every question that any application might ask, even as they're updated, so that you have a way to answer that. It's everything from college planning timelines, where I have like the lists of things that we're going to go over today, and then some cheat sheets like Excel tabs that you can, or Excel sheets that hopefully you can use, or resume templates on there as well. Financial aid, we're going to talk about it today, not in crazy detail because it doesn't yet help you. And I'll explain what I mean in a little bit, but I want you to know what's coming up, the deadlines for that, how it works. You have a general idea. And then also things like scholarships, where I try to keep them updated as much as I can with the local ones, the current ones. We'll talk about better sites for you to access national ones, but there's not going to be a national scholarship of like the law office on Kendall Drive that's going to pop up on a scholarship site nationally, but I'll try to keep track of them on my site. So that's the plan. All right. But a big breaking news for this year is Miami-Dade County Public Schools' new inauguration of a paperwork platform, if you will, college planning tool called SCORE. It looks like Squire, but it's spelled SCORE. It's not new. It's been around for a really long time, just not to Dade County Public Schools. It is a platform that a lot of private schools internationally have been using. If any of you have friends or family okay, oh boy, we're coming in and out of this. This is going to be fun. Who use something called Naviance, this is its competitor, if that means anything to you. This is not the ideal year for Dade County Public Schools to launch a new platform, but it is what it is. It's been in the works for a long time. It's not like a K-12 scenario where we're just trying to wing it. This is very different, and it's what we're going to use at the end of the day. So I'm not telling this to you because I'm suggesting that you try to get to know it and love it. This is what you need to use, period. If your college needs any kind of paperwork, and I'll explain more what that means. So only a few of you don't have yet a SCORE account, because I know we've been bothering you about it for a while. But it's not a luxury. It's not an option. It's a necessity, as you'll see. So what's SCORE? It allows you to do all kinds of things, from search for colleges, where today we talk about your lists and what you're supposed to come up with, to looking at the good, the bad. They have, pictures that are in the pamphlets. They have information from deadlines to paperwork, to social media links, which I really like, because most other websites, they'll put like the pamphlet pictures, as I call them. They don't get into the nitty gritty. And when you can really link to like a school's YouTube or Instagram, granted, they're still school accounts, but you know as well as I do, people get real on those kinds of things. So it's kind of nice to see the good and the bad for you to decide if a school is comfortable for you, since especially in this world, it's not as easy to just hop on a plane somewhere and take a campus tour. Eventually, this doesn't yet apply to you. The scattergram will be really neat. I'll just tell you what that is, even though it really doesn't affect you. Down the road, with historical data, other students at TERRA can actually, like next year, let's just say current juniors, can log on, see, oh, I'm going to go to Duke. Let me see last year of the TERRA kids who applied to Duke, not your names, not your IDs, but who got in and why, which were the GPAs, which were the classes they took. So they could kind of get an idea of at this school where our classes are different than classes at other high schools. Every school is unique, obviously, in nature. So what gives me a good chance or not of getting into a certain school? What might I need to do? So that's kind of neat. It's just that you guys are going to be the first year of the data to be able to plot that kind of stuff. So that's pretty cool. Use science, a few of you, like literally a few, like 5, have looked at this career interest quiz to see, you know, if your career matches up. They'll give you different life scenarios so that you can kind of decide on a career to choose from, etc. And then finally, this communication tool is a really big deal. At one point, we thought I might even be able to take care of Remind, because I know so many of you have so many different Reminds and Edmodo messages and emails. It's just a lot to check. Score can be used for communication. We're trying to get to that point. At minimum, it's the way that myself, Ms. Vega, and at least Ms. Bermudez, the school registrar, can keep in touch with you very quickly and some quick messages firing back and forth. It's not like, I don't know, you know, a live stream back and forth where we can chat in real time, I guess is what I was trying to say. But like I said, if you're in the middle of the application somewhere and you're like, bam, it helps. I don't want to say that my emails get buried. They really don't. I really try to be so good with them and very timely, as is Ms. Vega. But like for example, this morning when I logged on, just from yesterday, I had almost 100. So I get to them quickly. Today obviously is out because I'm doing this, but the score messages, I hate notifications on my phone. It's also an app. So I bust those answers out as quickly as I can. I just want you to use it as another form of communication, especially when we're talking about college and planning. So that's a thing. All right, some quick screenshots on what it looks like. Hopefully at this point you've seen it, used it. It's very user friendly. I think it's pretty. I like their fonts. And if you are the few who haven't yet signed up for it, there's a link for the sign up, since I've emailed it to you like 50,000 times and it expires after 24 hours, like some kind of Mission Impossible link. On the main TERRA site, on the banner on the front that scrolls through, like, so you can't miss it. So just use that, and that's how you'll get started. Because as a reminder, it's required. If you are applying to a college, which you are, this is how Miami-Dade County is going to assist you in the process. It's not an application. You cannot apply to college through SCORE. That's not its purpose. So if you're applying to a school, it's going to be however that school wants it. FIU has their own application. That's how you apply to FIU. UF, UM, Florida State, they have different forms of applications, including the Common App that we'll discuss today. So that's how you'll apply to a school, however that college wants it, which you're going to know because you're going to stalk these schools' websites like nothing tomorrow. Especially because they're constantly making changes, like literally every hour on the hour. As a matter of fact, earlier today at 10, I had a meeting with the state not me, it was like a giant meeting. It's not that special. Of the state, all of the state schools and the direct admissions directors and what they're changing and how they're addressing certain issues. So I'll talk about that too. So there are changes, and that's the best way to keep track of them is each school's website. But SCORE, if you need a transcript, if you need a teacher recommendation letter, if you need a fee waiver, all of that stuff, anything extra outside of the actual application that you hit the button is going to come through this. So it's not, like I said, you don't have a choice, but it will work to our advantage. I hate change too, and I was actually pretty excited once I really got into how this works. It could be really cool. You could track stuff. So no school like UCF can say, oh, but we never got this, which happens all the time. Now we could be like, yes, you did, bing, and we could prove it together. All right, so just as a reminder, there's still the reminds. Oh shoot, she was just walking by. We have a new activities director this year who's ridiculously, unbelievably creative and eager at the same time. Obviously we're a little limited in activities right now, so she's like really excited to get started. We're still waiting on word from sports clubs, all of that stuff. But in the meantime, remind is how that's still best being used. When we come back, we'll discuss where my office is. I think at this point, you know, and these are just quick screenshots of what we went over last year, the 11th grade planning list, because we did that already. That was done. So today we're going to talk about the senior planning, the senior list, which is also on the college advising tab under the senior timeline, the plans, but we're going to go over each bullet point today. That's the purpose of what we're discussing, including financial aid. All right. So like I said, as you have questions, please put them in chat, and somebody will get back to you hopefully as soon as possible as I keep talking. Okay, so how to start, right? So you're applying to college, you get that. That's our goal, that's your life, that's the timeline to do it. But how do you know where? How do you know how many? All of that fun stuff. So we're gonna talk about your list, your college list. If you've ever heard of the word FIT before, It makes sense. How do you fit a school and how do they fit you? And just because University of Florida, and I'm going to say that a lot because I'm a Gator, is a fantastic institution with the experience of a lifetime doesn't mean it's for everybody. Maybe that's not your thing. Maybe you'd rather go to a much smaller, more intimate school far away that has seasons. That's not UF. Their first opening classes, their core classes, my chemistry lab had 800 kids in it. You raise your hand, and if he called you, you would answer for 800 people. Is that awesome to you, or is that really uncomfortable? Plenty of other schools are not only half that size, but a fraction of it. So is that your environment? Do you love snow and want to get away? Cool, do that. If you hate it, then don't go to Boston. If you miss your mom too much that you can't handle being without her every day, then don't apply to schools in California. If you really want to be a physical therapy major and you really have that idea down now, then don't go to a school that doesn't have that program. So there's a lot of different pieces involved in what fits you. So I really want you to research based on what you've heard, who's told you those things, but do it on your own. You're not your parents. You're not your best friend. You're you. Duh. So I want you to pick schools and ultimately go to schools that you're comfortable at, not because somebody thinks you would really be great there. So all of that comes into play, as does price, of course, but we'll talk about money a little bit. So I look at the college process as a puzzle, okay? So like you are the pieces of a puzzle, and I kind of joke that some of you are like 4-piece puzzles and some of you are like 5,000-piece jigsaws that we're still working on, myself included. But all of those puzzle pieces is how a college is going to choose you. It's not just GPA, it's not just test scores, it's not just the classes you took or the family background that you had, it's not just the service you did. For the record, no school asks for service hours. At no point will you plug in an application 100 or 1,000. No, they want to know what you did. So somebody who has 100 hours, but at one location that they loved and worked at all the time is going to be viewed as more favorable than someone who has 1,000 hours, like donating shoes to 10 different places. What was the point of that? So they're really looking to capture your passion. That's kind of the big deal here. But all of that creates who you are off the paper. Yeah, you've got your numbers, but who are you beside that? What are you interested in? What kind of person are you? Are you going to fit into that campus? So all of that together, which you eventually show somehow through essays, short answer questions, possibly rec letters, as we'll talk, is how they choose you. All right, so the next thing is, now that you're kind of thinking of what schools you're talking about, your list, how many? I can't answer that for you other than I could tell you what not to do. My little going joke, I guess, is, you don't marry somebody that you don't date. So you don't want to be married to 10 or 15 different people. You want to pick one, you want to pick one that you go all in with. So as you're coming up with this list, every school you apply to needs to be the one that you're ready to commit to, that you're ready to marry for the rest of your life. It's an experience. So don't just start flying and plugging schools in because it sounds good or because you don't have to pay for it. You got a free waiver. Would you go there? Would you really want to be there? Then yes, put the time and effort and the money into looking into that school. Otherwise, don't go crazy. We're looking again to narrow this down into what you want. So the College Board has a campaign called 4 or More. So that's kind of the number we're going to play with, 4 or more. Now, I'm not going to lie, this is a college going school. So at TERRA, most kids apply to 5, 6, 7, 8, 10-ish. I have had kids who apply to like way more than that, 25, 30, which is crazy. Again, it's a lot of work and money. And I feel like, wow, you really want to go to all 30 of those schools equally, or you still have to have some kind of tier where this one's better than the other. So I want you to kind of be realistic with that. Cause like I said, it's a lot of time and money. Don't hog a spot from someone ethically. It's just not nice. If you never were going to consider that school to begin with. So think about that, right? So we're still going to play the game with 4 or more at least, right? So out of 4 schools, what I don't want you to say to me is, oh, but I'm going to go to FIU, miss. Okay, cool. Great. I'm glad. Go to FIU, but make sure that FIU was your choice. That was the school that made the best sense, not your only one. So don't just do one school because that's where you're going to end up anyway. Of course, you're going to end up there anyway if that was your only school. So we look for lists. So let's play the game of 4, shall we? So out of your 4 schools, let's take one of them as being your safety. That means your puzzle piece is here, right? This is where your numbers fall. This is where the person, and when you look at what a school is hoping for, and we're going to do that in the next slide, you're better than that. They're here. It doesn't mean they're bad by any means. It just means that your stats, your puzzle is a little bit stronger than what they're looking for. Cool. You like that school. If you end up going there, you're going to go. So that's why you still want a safety school to be one you would attend. But if you apply, you're going to get in. You at least have that as an option. And that could be anything from state schools to smaller schools. We'll talk about why they're not Ivies. Even if you're perfect, but a school that you have a shot at, not even a reasonable shot, almost a guarantee. And that's when, let's just say Florida Gulf Coast, if they're looking for 1190, 1200s, and you come at them with a 1300, awesome, then you're going to get in. Again, more pieces to the puzzle, but at least that's one that's probably going to work out very well. This is Miss Flores and Miss Waldrop's senior classes. Behind me is Miss Brady. It's also her birthday today.
Hi,
so happy birthday to
Yay!
Brady.
Happy birthday!
Thank you. Thank you.
For her birthday present, she
They
was
seem
assigned a
really
giant project.
excited.
Oh, I know. You can only see a couple. If you saw the rest of them, they're even less excited.
Okay.
But, yeah, we're going for the whole period, so we'll be done after.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So safety school. So that's the one that you're still eager to attend. Please keep that in mind. Oh, Miss Brady can. Okay. So that's one school, right? Your safety school can always be, by the way, I have to bring this up, Miami-Dade. Now, it bugs me sometimes when people think that, oh, it's just right around the corner, or I'm better than that, or it's only a community college. Stop it. And this is why, right? So Miami-Dade has a scholarship program called the American Dream. It has nothing to do with your parents' income at all. It's all merit. Miami-Dade has basically private donors is how it comes up. It's only a Miami-Dade college program. That's it. No other school. Where they pay for you to go for 2 years for free, 2 years or 60 credits. I say the or because some of you will have enough AP credits that you're done soon. It'll pay for a full 2 years or 60 credits as long as you have a 3.8 weighted GPA. Weighted, that's the higher of your two GPAs. Guess who has a 3.8 weighted GPA? Oh, I'll tell you, every single kid at TERRA, every single senior, every single person. And that's because we've basically forced you to take additional honors and AP classes without any choice. We've made you take the extra math and science and even the languages. You know as well as I do, there's no regular English class here or regular Gov. Even if you're a fool, you're still in honors. So at worst, you still have a really high GPA. So I want to bring that up because at this school, there's not a single kid, senior so far, I haven't checked the junior year, who can say they can't go to college either because they can't get in or because they can't afford it, at least for 2 full years. You can, and that's through Miami-Dade. So as a safety, it's something to consider. I also, you can't see, but in front of me and then behind me, I keep pictures of alums who send me pictures of them at school. You'll be part of that too. I'm excited. 2 of them are staring at me from Georgetown and then 1 from Princeton. Those 3 specifically, and there are others, got there because they went to Dade first. So I don't want you to think that, again, you're better than something, especially in this COVID world where things change, situations change. Oh, I have the goosebumps thinking about change. Your family's financial circumstances may have just altered drastically, health, all of that. Dade is a viable option for free if you're gonna, launch straight into something else right after. So you cannot tell me that the 2 kids at Georgetown right now who are gonna graduate from Georgetown ever worry about thinking somebody stops them to say, but you started at Dade. Okay, so what if I did? That's not even a thing. It matters where you graduate from. So please always remember that Dade's a safety because it's free for TERRA. And again, it can boost you into places that you've never dreamed possible if you weren't ready right now.
Can I say something? Can I say something for a second, Miss Vivian?
Mm-hmm.
I've had 3 students that have gone to Dade Honors. One of them after their 2 years, because they did very, very well. One of them went to UPenn, one of them went to Johns Hopkins, and one of them went to Princeton with a Jack Cook Kent Foundation scholarship that paid everything.
Mm-hmm.
So please, I beg you not to think that, oh my God, it's Dade, because here are people in schools that others can only but dream of. And it came as a result of being at Dade and in the honors program. It is fantastic. So don't shy away from that.
And the student she's speaking of at Princeton anyway, he did not get Jack Kent Cook in high school. So had he decided to go someplace else, that actually came about because of the opportunities at Dade. And so now he's at Princeton for free. That would not have happened as a senior. So please, options to keep in mind. I don't want to talk you into or out of any school ever, but especially when I'm going to kind of hope that you force yourself into a safety, and maybe there are plenty of other options. The way that we have that as a luxury around the corner, and the money, talk about the money, is a big deal. Okay, so out of the 4, 1 will be your safety at least. Obviously, if you're applying to more schools, then these numbers, you could play with those exponentially. All right, so out of the 4, 2 should be your match schools or target schools, as some places call them, and that's where your puzzle pieces are here. And this is what they're looking for. You're right about there. It doesn't mean you're going to get in. It's not a guarantee by any means. And also on the same token, don't be complacent. Don't feel like you're better than them. So of course you're going to get in. No, it's that you're likely, a likely school. You're likely because you've got what they're looking for. But let's look at UF that had almost 60,000 applications last year. Though a good chunk of them were maybe not what UF was looking for. You think the 12,000 acceptances they gave out were the only likely matches? No. So that's where we can't feel too confident, but that's why we want to create a healthy list of all of these ranges where sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But you need to do the research, and again, we'll kind of go over that in a second, to see where you fall in that. So out of your 4, 1's a safety, 2 are match schools, and then what the heck, right? Let's just go for broke. 1 is going to be your reach. I hope so. This is where your puzzle pieces are here. And then what that school is looking for is significantly, not significantly, is better than, exceeds where your puzzle pieces are. It's not a deal breaker at all. And this is why I want you to keep these in mind. This is something that you're reaching for. But when I say reach, I mean like within fighting, shooting distance. If we're talking MIT that averages maybe 1550 on some of their SATs, again, that's just one piece of the puzzle. But let's just say 1550 is their average. And the best you've done is a 1000. That's not really a reach anymore. That's you being a little bit foolish. So keep that in mind. But if you're like, I've tried it twice and the best I've done is a 1400, I'm under what they want. Yeah, we can't deny that. But maybe if you're under what they want in your test scores, maybe the fact that you've been in Del Rio for 3 years has now taken you higher. Maybe you've got an app on the side, something that balances it out. So I don't want you to think I'm not good enough for this school. Now, don't be crazy. There's a chance that that's true, but we have to look at it rationally, I guess. So a reach school is one where you think you're, all right, I don't know. I don't think so, but what the heck? Let me try. You don't, it's not your dream school. You don't pin all your hopes on it. So if you don't get in, you're crushed forever. Not that, but let's try. The other definition of a reach, though, that I can't ignore, especially since I know we're talking to some pretty advanced kids here, is a selective school. So if you're telling me you're going to apply to every single Ivy League school because you're that good, I'm gonna die, because that's not okay either. They average between 5 and 10% acceptance rates. I don't care how perfect you are. The only people applying are also perfect people. So if all you do is apply to ridiculously selective schools, you've got a really good shot of not getting into any of them, just odds. So please keep that list, like I said, healthy. Harvard is never a match school for anyone. Neither is UF for that matter, but keep your list so that you've got the entire chunk. So whatever comes out with the money, you're ready to go and you're okay to go. You're okay with going to, is what I guess I'm saying. All right. So here's the quick little cheat chart, right? I don't want this to scare you or to I guess encourage or discourage you. It's just a quick snapshot of some of the state schools, not all of them by any means, but some of the ones that are more common for our kids to apply to. Of course, there are plenty more schools than this, but these are the ones I typically get asked on the most. I also threw in Georgia Tech at the bottom because as an out-of-state public school, it's hard to go. It really is. It's not as hard to get in. I mean, it's not easy, but it's not as hard to get in as it is to go, because as an out-of-state public school, you're paying basically triple the tuition of a kid who's going there from Atlanta. But I included that just to have an idea of what places look like beyond the state of Florida. And the first column I want to look at is deadlines. That's a big deal. It's a really big deal. And this is reason number 7,205 why it sucks to be you guys this year. And I mean that in the best way possible. Deadlines aren't going away. So even though some schools have delayed them, some, not all have, and what they've delayed them to does not give you a ton of time to make up for the parts that you're missing. So let's look at UF and Florida State first. Look, their deadlines are like soon, November 1st. Florida State actually extended theirs to December, so a little bit. That's cool, but what if you don't have a test yet? What if you haven't been able to take one? You guys are at a position now where you've had 7 months of testing canceled. 7. Some of you have maybe 1 test score, maybe 2, because you were lucky to get into a location that didn't close, or you drove to a place, as you saw my recent score panic messages like, go to Fort Myers, I'm sorry, go to Key Largo, I'm sorry. Because in the state of Florida, unfortunately, we have not decided to forego test scores like they have in some other areas, to either make them optional or just not even considered. No, they're still a requirement. So if you have not been able to take a test, I don't know how to say this pretty. Like I said, it sounds awful. I'm just so sorry. You have to. You just have to, whatever that means. Because if November 1st, UF's deadline rolls around and they, and only they, so double check this, actually extended their test deadline. You can apply by November and send in scores by December. You're good. But if for some reason your test location was still canceled and you don't have scores by then, you don't get to go. You didn't finish your application. Does that suck? Absolutely. And it's because even though we've had 7 months of tests canceled, as I mentioned, that's been here. There are still August tests that went on. There's still September ones last week coming up. they're fine. They're just not in Miami-Dade County because of our locations, because we're under, you know, a phase 1 lockdown, so to speak. So we can't even have them. But the rest of the world, they're still running straight ahead. So those kids in Ohio have been able to take a bunch of tests, a bunch more than you. And when the state of Florida has said, oh, you want to go to FIU, you need a test score. There's no appeal to it. There's no, but I couldn't take one. There's no how. Drive, figure it out, take it to a private school. I mean, I listen to me struggling. I don't know what else to tell you. It's unfair. It's really unfair, but it's not going to change. So now at this point, you have to do what you can to get not only a test score, but a good one, a competitive one by their deadline. So that's what that means. Look at those first column, the deadlines. Also notice UCF, FIU, look, you can apply to those schools late senior year. You can apply in March, April, and still get in to UCF and FIU. Cool, okay, that's neat. But some of those schools have earlier scholarship deadlines. And so that's a pretty big deal too. So yeah, you could still get into FIU in March. But if I'm good enough, if I know what they're looking for as far as scholarships go, why not get your stuff in earlier? So that's the chunk, that's the pool of applications that they look at for their merit money. And we'll talk later. Merit money is money based on you, your brain, your test scores, your grades, the projects you've done, the essays you've written, not your parents' income. So if a school has merit deadlines earlier than their final deadlines, then yeah, you should be going for those as long as you qualify, as long as you're eligible. When FIU has a 1290 average and a 28 ACT, but the best you've done is a 1000, I could tell you right now, you're not going to get their merit scholarship. So don't rush to get that application done if you can't even get into the school. But that's where you need to log on and you need to know. You have to know what every school wants and by when so that you're ready to go. All right, that second column is the freshman profile, the mid 50. Middle 50%. So this is basically how I explain this is if you fell out of the sky in Gainesville and landed on somebody at UF, odds are they would have had this test range. So there's obviously 25% below that and 25% have done better than that. But the middle, the average, and this is how you kind of create your healthy list. Are you within that? Are you in a place that can tell you this is a match school for you? If you're below what they're looking for, is something better? Is your GPA higher? The classes is something? Does your essay have to be that much better? Or same thing, if you're better than what they're looking for, is this now a safety school for you? But like I said, UF and Florida State, whew, I'm full of stories. Ms. Flores knows my stories. Most of them are her students as well, where sometimes students had ridiculously high criteria and still didn't get into certain schools. So you can never look at something as one in and of itself. Everything, like I said, is taken together holistically as your puzzle piece. But this at least helps you kind of guide where you should be. Back to my testing frustration. It just sucks because maybe by this point, if you had taken this SAT 3 times, which is kind of normal for the real world now, but not COVID world, you might be able to super score some of these scores. But when you were lucky enough just to get one test, and hopefully that test was in a comfortable environment, not one where they turned off the ventilation, worried about spread, then let's hope that score presented you. But it's just an uncomfortable time to put your best foot forward when we're basically, we have no shoes. Oh, that was pretty good. All right, your third column is the GPA. This is weighted. This is the higher of the two, So that's good news because as you're staring at these averages, I bet you're thinking I'm really good. I'm pretty awesome. I'm much better than this because like I said, at TERRA, all the honors and AP classes shoot you above. Now, this, however, is recalculated. Every college is going to redo their GPA however they want to see fit. And it's to be fair. So when I say Ransom, for example, the private school around the corner from here-ish, their GPA is at a 12. How can you tell that a kid with an 8.0 GPA, what does that mean to you with your 4.2? How's a school supposed to know? That's just 2 schools in Miami. What about the rest of the world? So every college recalculates based on their own criteria. Just to give you an example, I'll tell you in the state of Florida, colleges give 1 bonus point to an AP class or dual enrollment and half to honors. So when in Dade County, if you follow me along, we give you 2 bonus points for AP and dual enrollment and 1 for honors. It's not like that everywhere else. It's not fair that we get that advantage. And so that's where schools redo it on their own. So your GPA will drop a little bit, not significantly, because here at TERRA, our electives are core classes. When they only consider your GPA out of English, math, science, social studies, and your languages, here, your AP Human Geo, your AP Psychs, your APES, all of that stuff, that's like extra electives. So when those are the only choices we've given you, your GPA, again, by accident, is pretty darn good. So GPA is usually pretty solid for us, but that's another reason why you kind of keep in mind where your puzzle pieces fall so that you can tell what a school is as far as a target school, a match school, or a safety school, et cetera. But you have to keep track of that. Okay, so at the end of all of this spiel, options is what I want. Like I said, I don't want you only doing one school, even if that's the one you're definitely going to go to. Well, like I said, you're definitely going to that school because it's the only one you had. So let's give ourselves options. It's not a matter of being accepted by the best ones or the most, but the best one for you that you can afford, the best school with the best money. With that said, I don't want you yet to discount an expensive school. I don't want you to go home. This is why I love talking to the parents and being like, Mom, I'm gonna apply to UM. Miss Vivian said I could do it. And they're like, you kidding me? What drug is she on? We can't afford that. Now that may be true. Can't lie, that may be true. But you would be surprised, so surprised, at how oftentimes private schools with big pockets are more accessible and give better financial aid proportionally than state schools. So I don't want you yet to be afraid of expensive schools. I want you to have a healthy list, but I don't want you to forget or think that you can't apply someplace because you don't know. So when we talk about tuition, schools are all different. So let's take UM. UM's $72,000 a year, 1 year. 1 year this year, 1 year. On the same token, FIU is about $7,000 to attend, not to live there, just to go. So in theory, you could go 1 year, live and go to school at UM for like way more than 4 years of attending FIU living at your mom's house would be, obviously. But that's not the same experience that everybody wants. However, I don't want you to think that that can happen yet. So out of the $72,000 at UM, depending on so many factors, from your parents' income to how many kids you have in the family, how many live in your house, how many are in college, there's so many pieces. It might be $72,000 for Miss Vega. It might be 40 for me. It might be free for Miss Flores. You don't know how it all plays out. Now, I'm not saying it's like a crapshoot. Every college will have something called the net price calculator. It's required by law. So you can at least plug in your family's finances. That's the worst case scenario in theory. Hopefully you'll get more than that. But at worst, at least you'll see based on your income, not your brains or anything else, no scholarships, just your parents' income. That's what we're looking at. And I think you'll be really surprised. I play this game all the time with my own kid just to be like, oh, could we go to Harvard today? Or with our recent tax returns. Oh, no kidding. It's not going to be 80,000 for us. Cool. It doesn't mean I can afford it, but you have a better idea. So I want you to at least be open to that. Play with the calculators, but don't all of a sudden be like, I just can't go to Boston because there's no way I can afford that. That may be true, but you don't know just yet. And that's where my example of the Accredi project comes in. I'm staring at her face on the wall. She's still the only student at TERRA to get in and attend Harvard. She graduated 2 years ago, and she went there because it ended up being cheaper for her to go there than it was for University of Florida. And she still had bright futures and prepaid. And it's not because she was poor. So that's always the quickest answer I get from family. I was like, well, of course. I mean, if she was needy, nope, that wasn't her situation. Her family were both professionals. They made just under a couple $100,000 a year. And yet the difference between the money that they're able to give versus what she would have had to pay to live at University of Florida made sense for her to go to Harvard for what it offered. So it was real cute. She was a student of mine. I think I told you I taught AP Lit here for a long time, real sweet, shy, quiet. And she would kind of tell people like, I'm going to Harvard. And she would automatically jump in with like, because it's cheaper than UF, or I even remember being like, stop saying that, like, go Gators. But I don't want you to explain it to people like that. Like, own it, be excited. You're going, you got in. Oh my gosh, don't tell them that's why you had to go. Like, it just made sense. But had she automatically assumed it was just too expensive, completely different life path. Not that it would have been a better or worse one, just keep that in mind is what I'm getting at as you're creating lists. So, okay, next slide. Yeah, allow yourself options. 2 sites can help you choose schools: Big Future through College Board, which we're going to talk about at the end of the presentation, and SCORE. SCORE also has this entirely very comprehensive college, not match, but like I said, when you can plug in answers or criteria that you're looking for, and it'll spit out lists of schools that you might want to look into. Okay. So moving on from that, once you have an idea of the schools you're going to come up with or what you're going to be applying to, this is so dumb to waste a slide, but it's so important. You have to know what their deadlines are, and you have to follow a calendar, and please, please keep track of it. It is impossible for you to remember everything and all of the changes. Every college is going to have a different username, a different login, if they want transcripts, how they want transcripts. They don't want transcripts, what test scores to send in. If you send in test scores, maybe you could just report your test scores. Do they need an essay? How many? Letter of recommendation? No, how many? So it goes nuts fast, let alone the deadlines. And if you sent in that stuff, so please, whether you're Post-it people, whether you whiteboarded on your refrigerator, I don't know. I've created a little cheat sheet for you on the college advising tab under timelines. Like I said, a resume also. Please do something, because I am also full of stories about people who thought they did the right thing and oops, just missed something. And it's not because they're fools. It's because it's very difficult. If you're applying to 8 schools, all with different requirements and deadlines, it's very easy to, oh God, okay, I sent off 6 scores and it turns out one of them just you missed. And all of a sudden you don't get into that school. They don't care if you didn't finish their application process. That's on you. So frustrating. Please be really, really careful. about keeping track on things. One thing about scores, you can add your parents to your account. So I'm sure most of you don't like love the idea of your mom like, hey, isn't this deadline tomorrow? But it might help. In this case, it might help to have another set of eyes looking out for you as well. Because there's different pieces to the application. So that's what I keep saying. Just because you hit a button doesn't mean you're done. No, you mean you hit the application part. But part of that application is the application itself, paying for it, the tests, the transcripts, the letters, the essays, all of those. You can do those all at separate pieces. It's not like you're ready to hit a button, your teacher's ready to hit the teacher rec letter button, the registrar has got her transcript, and College Board together is like, ready, 1, 2, 3, bam. No, you send your pieces off as you're done with them. As long as all of the pieces are received by the deadline, you're good. But that's also what you have to manage. You might have to email a teacher and be like, you know, my deadline for this application is next week. I know I invited you to write my letter. You haven't done it yet. Are you going to have it done? Because if they don't, that's on you. You might have missed the email where they wrote back, yeah, I don't do letters, but that's another slide. We'll get to that. Last bullet point. Please make sure your data is accurate. That sounds boring, but this is what I mean. There is no human being anymore that links up papers. So every part of your application is matched by a computer to make sure that you've got all of the pieces in. So if your last name is spelled wrong or different than on one document than another, it doesn't link up. You're different people. One of the most common things I start off with is birthdays. It's not because you screwed up your birthday. You know when you're born, but in an application where you're busting out answers to questions very quickly, oh, what's your birthday? You're like, okay, September 8th, 2020. That's not your birthday. That's the date you filled out the application. It's just such a common error. People don't look at it. You don't hope you make a mistake. You don't look for the mistakes that you planned on making. So everyone skips that part. They don't even proofread it correctly because it's today's date. That's what's fine. But months later, when UCF now hasn't given you a decision and we have to go back and do some crazy investigative work, like, well, that's why. That's not your birthday. You can't get into college as a 2-month-old. You have to be at least 14. That's an issue. So please make sure everything's accurate. Just like, big deal, the hyphenators. If your last name is hyphenated, if you are a Vega-Garcia, please make sure all of your stuff has that same name. I don't care if that's what you go by or that's what your mom calls you or not. But nobody says that. I don't care. If it's on your birth certificate, passport, your social security number, that's your name. It doesn't mean we start calling you that, but on paper, that's your name. So your transcript is going to say that name, but that's not going to match up with Bright Futures if you only put Vega. If you only put Vega, but your parents have been paying taxes for years with your social security number, which is Vega Garcia, you don't get that financial aid. You're not the same person. And it's a mess to fix. It's fixable. So I don't want you to be discouraged if you screw up. That's why I'm here. But let's not try to fix things. Let's try to get them right from the beginning. So if you're sitting there like, uh-oh, I think there's more to me than they should know about, even if it's an apostrophe, if it's like O'Connor and your name has apostrophe and you're just O'Connor without that your whole life, we have to make sure that matches. Things like that. There's an easy way to fix it through the registrar. I can help you, but you have to make sure everything you've started, tests, everything has the correct information on it. So that's a thing. Okay. So as we're still looking for schools, how do you know? This is where I would tell you about how to come to our college fair, the visits. Unfortunately, neither of those things are things this year. So I'm trying my best to have like virtual visits. We've got one next week, starting with UM is going to be our first guinea pig. I'm trying to book them through your lunchtime. So it will be through SCORE. You can check a calendar on SCORE, just not sure how yet. And UM, each of the colleges will be releasing the link probably a day before, or it's just us, it's just the UM lady for TERRA students. And you can at least log on and ask some questions. In another world, you'd be in the office, you could show them your essay, you can really look them in the eye and be like, do I have a shot? It might be a little different now, but we'll do our best. So I'm trying to load in as many visits as I can during lunch, so you don't have to get called out of class, but we'll see. Many other schools have visits at night. Tomorrow night, as soon as I get more information, like FAMU is doing a couple of visits. It's nationally, so it's all kinds of people. It's not just TERRA, but at least you know. So stalk websites, look at YouTube tours, look at social media. You want to make sure as you're finishing your list, you've covered all options. All right, back to testing then. As we're moving away from applications, tests. I don't know what to tell you. Even today, that meeting with the state admissions directors, we're like, yeah, it does stink. You're right. Everything you're saying, every question that everyone was asking in Dade County is valid, but it's how it is. So you have to get them done by when they're looking for, period. It's miserable. I'm like embarrassed to go over this slide, because if you are on free reduced lunch, you probably know this already, you get to take tests for free. As a matter of fact, this year you get 2 SATs and the ACT doubled, you get 4. So I'm here to tell you, if you're on free reduced lunch, you get to take 6 tests for free, but that's like a horrible thing to tell you because you can't even get 1 test. But if you get 6, they're free. So good luck with that. But that's always on the college advising tab where you have to apply for it. I approve it, let you know, through the district, make sure you're eligible and send you a link. So if you can, awesome. But that's the benefit. It's just frustrating. Look, I even wrote in red. I hate telling you this. This is like the worst Santa Claus ever. Like I'm giving you a present, I'm taking it away. As a matter of fact, this year ACT started allowing people to retake sections. There's 4 sections on an ACT. They didn't require you to show up for the test anymore. They just allowed you to show up for 1 section. So that's cool. But is it when you can't even get an ACT in Dade or Broward County? So I'll share it just because it's on my slide. But all right, and that further complicates the matter with this magic word, test optional. So as you've probably been listening or following, or your parents telling you, a lot of colleges, a lot, have gone test optional. None of the state of Florida schools, however, which means something a little tricky. So let me explain, right? Most colleges have acknowledged, yeah, you guys have had a hard time. We know you can't take any test, let alone get a test score that's competitive with what we want. We get it. We know some of you are coming from areas, Miami-Dade, Los Angeles, Houston, New York City, that have had a really hard time being competitive in college. Don't stress, got it, it's okay. So if you apply to those schools that are test optional, it is just that. It's an option for you to send in your test scores. If you don't, that's okay. You didn't miss out on that application process. They're still going to consider you complete, but understand what I'm saying. What I'm saying to you, though you're not submitting your score either because you didn't have one or because the one you got wasn't good enough, they're now instead going to be looking at other pieces. So if you don't have a test score, then your GPA, your activities, your classes, there's your essay, there's got to be something there that's strong enough for you to get into that school. Because there are plenty of other kids applying who will have test scores. Back to those kids in Ohio who were like, which one do I send in? They've got their test scores that you couldn't take, and they have the same GPA, with classes, experience that you're sending in just without the test scores. So it's not like it's a level playing field, so to speak, of everybody who now is being looked at for their other stuff. Optional means if you have it and it's good, send it in. And there are going to be thousands upon thousands of kids who still will. We just don't. So I don't want you to look at a test optional school and be like, cool, free pass, I don't have to take a test. No, you're competing against kids who have, and they've done well. We are just going by the promise of that college to not hold that against you, because instead they're going to waste something else more heavily in your favor. I just pray to God that's how things are done. I don't know what else to say about that. So don't only apply to test optional schools out of state because you think you have an easier shot. It's not easier at all. A school that doesn't use tests for anybody is called test blind. It means I don't care what you send me. It's not part of admissions. That's very rare. Test optional gives us the hope that I think a lot of us rely on when I'm here to tell you, unfortunately, let me just burst your bubble. It's not necessarily that case. So please, when you're coming up with your list, don't only do test optional schools thinking that's your way in. That's may end up blowing up the other direction as well. So that's something new for this year that's kind of frustrating. Okay, so as we're wrapping up applications, know the pieces. Like I said, know who wants what and by when and how they want it. So the application, whether it's through the school, whether it's through Common App, it's through something else, that's how you're going to submit it, period. And you have to know all the pieces that they want. If a school wants a transcript, that's something that you will indicate on score, basically. So on score, as you add, literally you quote, you add to the applying section of score, the colleges you're applying to, our registrar can see, oh, that's a school that needs a transcript. It pops up as a little alert on her side. She fires off the transcript. She can't fire a transcript off if you don't add the school. We don't know, or ESP, what schools you're thinking about. Same thing with some other pieces, the teacher letter, this transcript, the school profile. Once you add the scores you're applying to, that's when we can see what documents are needed. And at times that's where you have to request some of them as well. We'll get to that in a second, but you have to know that. The fee, this is why you can't apply to billions of schools. It's $30, UCF, $30, Miami-Dade, $30, UM 70, Duke's 85, Columbia's 110. It adds up. And guess what? You pay a school just to have them tell you you're not good enough. You didn't get in. You can't go back and be like, I'd like a refund. No, so you don't want to drop $1,000 on application fees only to find out that none of them took. That's why this list has to be healthy. More reasons. If you're on free reduced lunch, You don't have to pay for college applications. Now, in theory, there's a number of you should stick to 20 or under, but there's no like, it's going to stop you. Who's it? The Common App, a college? Nobody knows. Where you can't just start applying to a billion. I just don't appreciate that, because now you're spending too much time. You're spreading yourself too thin. I want you to go all in on the schools that matter to you, not just clicking buttons on ones that, let's see if it works. When in reality, you're like, where's Iowa? I'm like, oh, you just applied there. That's ridiculous just because you have a free chance to do so. Look at the ones that you're really interested in and know how much they cost. But if you're eligible for a fee waiver, you will indicate that on SCORE. You will literally click in there that, yes, you're eligible for a fee waiver. It comes to me or Ms. Vega, and we can take turns. We can do whatever we want. I have a breaking news red alert on my computer, which I hate, so I pop them through as soon as I can. And bam, that means when you send your application, you don't have to send the payment with it. But that's only if you're eligible, a free reduced lunch. Test scores. Like I said, of the schools that require tests or even suggest them as optional, you need to know on their website if you actually have to send it in or if you could just report it. And it's different. If a school like FIU says, you better send this in, that's another $12 for SAT, 13 for the ACT for each school. So now you have the application fee, and you got to pay 12 or 13 bucks to send in whatever score is better, the score that you have, because the state of Florida says you still need them. It adds up quick. But some schools say, don't send us your score. Don't worry about that. We don't need it. Instead, just report it. Tell us on our application. Say what you've got. So now they're going to pick you based on a score you tell them you got. How cool is that? You can make stuff up. No, you can't. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. If you make anything up at some point, when they accept you and come back and say, now send us your scores officially. Now send us your transcript officially. If you lied about your classes, it's going to come out again, full of stories about where these things have burned kids. Don't. But the luxury of self-reporting a test score is that you don't have to pay the 12 bucks. In addition, it takes a couple of weeks to send in a test score. So if you're like, okay, all right, University of Michigan, done by November 1st, cool. I've got everything done. I'm going to send my test scores October 31st. I'm set. No, you're not. It takes a couple of weeks, and it just depends, between 1 and 3 weeks for an SAT score to get to University of Michigan. They happen to be a school where if it's not received the next day by deadline, you didn't make it. So you have to plan in advance and ahead which stores you're sending and allow time for it to get to that school, for example. So that's another piece that you have to know. Just like transcripts. I already jumped the gun on this a little bit. So if your school needs a transcript and you've added it to your score profile, that's how we know we could fire it off to that school. But here we go again. Not all schools need transcripts. There are plenty, even in the state of Florida, UF, Florida State, they don't want a transcript. They don't want to go through 60,000 applicants' pages of transcripts. Miami-Dade County, your transcripts are 5 pages long and include like your vaccinations. They don't need that stuff. So they instead have something called the SSAR. It's a completely separate website. It's not part of UF. It's not part of Florida State. It's not part of Common App. It's not part of TERRA. It's not part of anything. It's a completely different website called the Self-Reported Student Academic Record. They want you to log in, plug in your classes, plug in the grades you've got, and it's really simple. It is. It's not difficult at all. Yes, it's another piece to the puzzle, but like when it says add in your English classes, I mean, you say what they are in the grades when you took them, so it's pretty simple. But that's the quickest, easiest way for them to get your classes, not going through a transcript where Dade County's is different than Orange County's is different than Columbus, Ohio's, all of that. So, but it's part of the application. If you did everything UF asked, but didn't link your SSAR, didn't tell them your classes, you didn't finish. By the deadline, you just did not finish. So all of this is what's available on every college's website, their admissions tab specifically. And most have gotten really simple now. It'll say, step 1, do this. Step 2, hit the application. Step 3, pay. Step 4, do the SSAR. And they even have little cheat sheet videos. If you're like, oh, how do I put a dual enrollment class? Bam, read this question answer. Really easy. I have a cheat sheet on my website too. But you have to know is what I'm getting at. That's where this all comes down to. You have to know. So no. All right, we're winding down applications finally. So one extra piece that I want to spend some time on is the letter of recommendation. It's not that common. It really isn't. Gone are the day, like in your parents' my time, where that was a big part of every application. It's rare. Truly, it's rare for most schools now. Not a single school in the state of Florida even requires one. State school outside of UM still needs them. But that's a private school. But just to give you an example, out of all of those schools, you can apply to UCF, UF, Florida State, USF, FIU, Miami-Dade, not a single letter. So it's not a normal thing if you are trying to get a letter from a teacher, or if your parents are bugging you, start it. If you're like, Mom, I can't. You can't even send them an extra. You can't be like, whatever, UF doesn't take it, but I'm gonna send one anyway. They're like, great, thanks, psh, trash. It's not part of your admission. It's not a thing. And there's a number of reasons why, including the fact that So many kids who apply to college now are coming from areas or large schools or places where I don't know who you are. Could you write me a letter? Don't answer that. I fear for what you could say. But if I asked you to really get into who I was, you don't know me and I don't know you. Even Ms. Vega, who's worked with a lot of you, can write about a few things maybe, but not enough to be like, I remember the first day I saw him, the sky was blue and he was the best student I had on that project. What? Most teachers are like, who are you again? What was your GPA? And so since a letter does not any longer give this like entirely perfect, well-rounded view of who you are since birth, they don't help much in admissions. They really don't. What's another 2 letters from a teacher who's firing off templates gonna do for a kid trying to get into Harvard when one other kid was able to get a letter from their single private school where they've had the English teacher for the last 12 years? Do you see what I mean? So that's why they're not considered as important anymore, and more schools don't even use them. So if you're like adamant on getting one, please know if you even require one first. And so how you would go about doing so, though, is on SCORE. Once you add that college, it'll show you the list of documents for each school. It also shows you on Common App, but let's look at SCORE since that's what we'll have to use. And so if a school does require one, first, know what kind of letter, because there are some schools that'll say, don't just send a teacher letter, send your science teacher if it's a certain program. So now in your head right now, as I say that, are you thinking of all the science teachers you had? And are you like, nope, not that one. Nope, not that one. Nope, not that. Plus, the ugly part of this is teachers are not required to write letters. It's not a required part of their job. They do it out of the goodness of their hearts, if they even do it, because they've got a lot on their plates, especially this year, as do you. So I'm not saying it's a more important job than any of what you're doing, but as they're grading summer reading and all their tests, and now this online thing is kind of a mess, now who's going to end up writing 100 letters for kids that they don't even know about, or that they don't even remember from last year, but they remember that they liked you? What kind of letter can they say that really truly is the one piece of your puzzle that now puts you over the top? So it's difficult. So I say that because if you know you're applying to a school that requires a letter, when you add it to SCORE, it pops up on the SCORE screen that says request teacher recommendation. And that's where you can scroll down and request it from a teacher. Everything's online. It's not a thing anymore. It's 2020. It's COVID 2020 where we touch papers. No, everything's online. And a teacher can accept your request. They could decline it. They might tell you they need more information. Some teachers at TERRA flat out have policies of I don't write letters. They do it to be fair. Some teachers will be like, well, I only write 20, but it's only the first 20 who ask, or the first 20 who have A's in my class, or I don't even do seniors. I only do the kids I had last year. And Ms. Flores, God bless her, has known you for like 8 hours basically. So how is she going to know enough about you to put together a beautiful letter? With that said, she still does. So I just threw her under the bus. But it's a difficult part of the process. So if you need information from a teacher, please look into that, know how, know why. And then we used to use brag sheets in the past, which was a little cheat sheet of you telling your teacher, hey, this is stuff about me, and that kind of helps. On SCORE now, you can actually input all that information on your profile. You can also upload files. You can upload an essay that you wrote, something that's meaningful to you, some kind of letter to somebody. You could still do it on brag sheet, upload it to your SCORE drive, it's called. That way, the counselor, the school official, any teacher, 1, 2, or 10, can read your information. The idea of me writing a counselor letter on your behalf is kind of the same thing. Again, I don't know you that well. So if all I'm doing is going off of information you provided, and my letter is like, yeah, they're student at TERRA, here's your GPA, he's president of the French club, he ran cross country, all of that's on your application anyway. So it doesn't offer much. So when you're helping a teacher write a letter for you, giving information, try to think of the parts off the paper, the stuff that can really help with a letter. Otherwise, that's why they're kind of generic. I'm not trying to make excuses, I'm just being realistic. So if you're able to ask for a letter from someone who might know you a little bit better, get into the heart of you, that's ideal. That's what we're looking at. But you have to know when, and you have to know if that school requests one. Because ultimately, at the end of all of this, remember, you're trying to get into a school because they fit you and you fit them. So please, you're your best commercial. Sell yourself in a good way. Don't have ridiculous email addresses. Be professional. Be professional. It's not going to get you kicked out of a school, but you don't want to be remembered as that guy with a crappy email address or the embarrassing one. Just be professional. Same thing with social media. Full of stories. Full of stories. Not because a school can hack into your social media. They can't. They cannot hack into your social media, especially if it's private. So keep it private. Everything should be private. Who are you with these 2,000 friends that you can't even say hi to in Publix? What is that? But still, even private, please watch what you post. Do not put anything that isn't who you truly are as a person. So what's up there needs to be representative of you. If you're a crappy person, it is what it is. But how would a school want to choose you on that? Well, how would they know? And I'm here to tell you, they know, not because they can hack. But there are a number of schools, we didn't even talk about the interview process because it's very rare, but there are schools who have required interviews, MIT, where can you imagine if you would show up to an interview, or now it's on Zoom, where they're like, hey, can you log into your Instagram for us? What do you say? It's private. It's your right. You could say absolutely not, but what if you just told that interviewer? What if you just told them about you? Like, it's kind of personal. Okay, cool. Make a note of that, but why pick you? What could you be hiding? I'm not even saying that's the direction they go, but there are a number of schools who will ask you to sort of self-report. Even if you have a private social media, it doesn't mean you're not tagged in public posts. And again, I'm full of stories of people who were found out because somebody else sent up a picture of them. And it's usually not to hurt you. It really isn't. The stories I know of are kind of dealing with the ugly part of senior year. And I know Ms. Flores can attest to this very well because she's had seniors almost as long as, well, most of her career here, where it's really uncomfortable when your friend group this year, all of you apply to UF, all of you together, close your eyes, cross your fingers, got it, go. And now what if all of them got in but you? Or worse, what if you got in and none of them? You really want to be happy for your friends. Of course you do, but it's an awkward time of year where you're like trying to be proud, happy for someone when like they have what you want, or vice versa. So I bring that up, not as a threat, please. This is completely going the wrong direction that I intended. But when someone's like, wait a second, look, school A, you picked this girl, look at the stuff that she's doing. Look at me, look at what I've done. They don't do it with the intention of getting you kicked out. They do it with like, but look at me though. Look at how much different or better I am in their appeal. What do you think that admissions office is gonna do? Look at that picture and be like, yeah, forget it. She needs to be in. No. And what's happened in the past is those kids have just been kicked out before they started. So please be really careful. If your mom doesn't want to see it, or if your grandmother, forget your mom, your great grandmother doesn't want to see it, then nobody else does either. Please put your best foot forward always, as long as it's true to your character, but understand schools and jobs will reflect that. And I'll finish with a quick story on this. Google it because it's a crazy story. Last year, eight incoming freshmen were kicked out of Harvard before they even started because on a public social media page, they didn't post. They didn't. They liked a picture that was posted that was inappropriate. It was racist. It was offensive. It was not okay. And yet these 8 kids liked it. A bunch of kids liked it. Plenty more did. But somehow it got the attention. I don't know the full part of that, of admissions committee, that, okay, thanks, but no thanks. We know we welcomed you for Harvard, and Harvard does not have a large class at all. So to kick out 8 was significant. And of course, their families got very upset about it. It made national media when Harvard basically could stand by it and be like, yeah, we do have the right to do that. We can. We're a private school. These are our morals and ethics. We don't feel like somebody who could laugh at that, like it, is the kind of person we want walking amongst our faculty or our students here. Thanks, but no thanks. It was in May, so it's not like those kids could just turn around and go to another school. No. So I say that not to sound like Big Brother, everybody's watching, but if what they're watching is not comparable to you, or is not complimentary to you or your best character, understand that those decisions have consequences, and college is no different. So there's that. Okay. So once I finally shut up, what you should be doing this week-ish, if not sooner, is, looking at the schools you're applying to, knowing what they want, when they want it by, and getting on it. Start submitting those applications, start perfecting, if not working on your essays. Look at the parts that are needed. In our world, tests, like I said, are necessary evil at this point in time. So whatever you have to do to get that list complete and start submitting it is where we're at this point in time. Got it? Okay, let's segue over for just a little bit to financial aid. Like I said, we're going to talk about this again soon, very soon, but I don't want to go over stuff that you don't understand yet. So even though I can bust out what your EFC is and what your CSS profile should say and what the percentage of your subsidized loan interest rates are, all of that means nothing until you have it in your hands, and now it makes sense. So like I told you last year, Ms. Vega and I went over stuff with you after the PSAT. Giving all this information to you is irrelevant until you understand what it is when you need it. So we're not late in anything, but I want to touch on it. But we'll go over the specifics when it matters to you in time to make a decision. All right, so as far as money goes, when we talk about college, especially since I just told you, yes, you might be able to apply to a really expensive school, know that money comes from basically 2 like trees. The need-based pot, which is how much your family made, their income, how much they paid in taxes, so many pieces. You can't change that right now at all. It's based on what they already did last year. It's based on the taxes they filed in April, which actually had an extension this year and this year alone until July. It's the cost. It's how much your family is able to pay. It doesn't mean it's what they want to pay. That's a big deal. Just because your family makes $100,000 a year, that's good money for one person. That's not very good money if you have 8 people living in that house. It's not anymore. So do you see what I mean when none of these things are considered equal? And just because your family shows on paper that they have $30,000 a year extra, That might be spent on things because it says Miami, on the cars, your boat, your house, rent. It's just a crazier town than it is other places. So it doesn't mean just because your family looks like they can afford it, means they want to. And that's a pretty big deal. It's not the government's job to get you to college or to pay for it all. It's there to help if needed, if you're eligible. So that's a big part of it. So I don't spend a lot of time trying to like manipulate or rig need-based stuff because I can't change that. Neither can you. That's already been done. But that type of information comes from getting loans that you're eligible for, being able to work on campus. It's called work study, free money called grants. Awesome. All part of what your family makes. And like I said, that's not just how much, it's how many people are in the house, who's going to college, how many. If you're one of three, if you're triplets going to college, the government knows, wow, that sucks for you. So they help a little bit more. It doesn't mean it's everything. You also still have 3 people going to college, but that's the kind of information you might not expect to be considered, and it is. So instead, what I really try to put most of my energy in is the merit-based money. That's, again, your brain. That's something you can control. Your efforts, your scores, your classes, the service that you've done, the community that you've been involved in, what you enjoy, the essays that you write, the projects. One of the best examples I like to use for merit is, it's like I said, you control it. You have to do these things. Even for Bright Futures, you have to get the score, which we'll go into next. But one of the private scholarships that people tend to like roll their eyes at because it's a lot of work is called Taco Bell Live Más. And part of that scholarship involves you submitting a 2-minute video on, usually it's like an issue of like some sort of global issue or some kind of change. That's a lot. If I told you right now, in addition to everything else you have on your plate, now go make a 2-minute video and maybe Taco Bell will pick you, you probably will, that's not a priority. And yet, I say this every presentation, I really need to call like Mahia and ask, there's some project somewhere, some environmental teacher makes you kind of do this already, whether it's the entire thing or whether it's a portion of it. Every year for the last couple of years, we have had students, multiple students, win a level of the Taco Bell Live Más scholarship because they submitted a video dealing with like climate change, where there's like, and they're not fancy. It's like kids walking along like Matheson hammock on the rocks, like shooting a fish, like videoing, not shooting, like video recording a fish. And they've submitted it. And I say this because Taco Bell is not like a $500 scholarship. Not that 500 is bad. Any money is good money. But this is $10, $20, and $25,000 levels. And so when all of a sudden a video that, Salcedo made you do is now, boom, worth 20 grand, you do it. So these merit-based scholarships, like I said, are within your control. So we like these more than we do the need-based because, again, that's not anything that you can handle or manipulate or change. Okay. So first, 4 places money is going to come from, different types, need and merit, but it's going to come from 4 places. The federal government, the United States, the state of Florida, the institution, the college that you're going to, and then the private companies, like the one I just gave you, Taco Bell, for example. So this is a big deal starting in October. You cannot do this now. You cannot go home and do anything. Listen to me. You can't jump a gun on this at all. So the FAFSA is a free application for federal student aid. It is a federal application. It is free. Do not pay a single human being to help you with it, your accountant, a website, nothing. It is free. It used to take a really long time because your parents or you had to input all of their tax information, so many different pieces. Now there's a little orange button, IRS data retrieval tool, where as long as your family is like a normal average tax-paying citizen with no funky scenarios, then bing, you hit that button, bloop, all of your data self-populates. There are a few questions you have to answer, like how many live in your house, how many are going to college, which colleges do you want to send this to? That's it. It is done super duper quick, easy, fast in about 5 minutes. And I say 5 minutes because most of that time is spent coming up with a password for the website. It's one of those sites where you need like the combination, I don't know, like nuclear codes before you can submit. But the rest of the data is actually easy. And this goes off to the government, which then spits it right back out to the list of colleges you listed. And so if you get into those schools, then they're able to use this document to see how much of the government money they've received can go to you. So it's different for everybody. It really is. But it's first come, first served. Did you hear what I said? It is first come, first served. So I am going to bug the crap out of you to get this form submitted as close to October as possible. You don't get more money if you do it October 1st versus October 15th, but if you don't send this in till like February or March of senior year, once you decide, yeah, I think I'll apply to UCF, could they be out of their money? Absolutely. So I'm going to bug you, please send it in. You can send it to as many schools as you want, 10 at a time, but then you go back and delete those 10 and redo another 10. So even if you don't have your application yet, just because you send it off and UCF doesn't know you're applying, they don't have anything from you, it just sits there. If you never apply, it goes away. But if you do, then at least they have that on file to potentially give you some kind of federal assistance, something. And again, that could be a grant. That could be a couple of grants. That could be the opportunity to work on campus. And when I say on campus, I mean like financial aid office, admissions office. I don't mean like the Chick-fil-A, which you can still do on your own. It gives you the option to take out loans. We're not going to spend too much time on this yet, although we will eventually. On loans, I'm not a loan person. I don't like them. I don't agree with them unless it allows you to go to school with a little bit, tiny bit of debt. That's what they're there for. Student loans are designed to help finish the job, not do the job. And so even if you look very quickly without me going over numbers, crazy numbers, notice you're limited in how much you can take out. You can't just walk in and drop $100,000 in loans. You can't. You're limited from the student government based on your FAFSA numbers. So then how are people overwhelmed with loans who are like graduating with 200,000 in debt? It's because they maxed out the government and then they went on their own private loans. That's crazy. And that's why you end up when you're 45 and living in your mom's garage, because all of a sudden your college was so expensive. It's very, very difficult to pay back quickly, if at all. But a loan that's a little bit, if you're somehow at UM and you, I don't know, were able to qualify for 70,000 and you're a couple thousand short, I don't want you to say, oh, well, I can't go. I don't have the full amount. That's where student loan comes into play. You can pay back a couple thousand every year if that's what it takes to get you to UM. If you graduate with 15, 20,000 in debt, that's normal. That's okay. You can pay that back. It's like a car payment. You're done. But when we quadruple that, triple that, worse, that's a problem. So that's my spiel on loans, but we'll talk about that more specifically when you start to see them come in if you need them. But I have a really hard time talking you into a school where you need to take out ridiculous amounts of private loans. It just doesn't make sense. I'll tell you, your dream school says all the time, your dream school will become a nightmare very quickly when you're still paying for it 25 years from now. Ms. Flores, do you know of students still paying back their students' loans, not just years, but decades later? Oh, wait, hang on. You just have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I actually know people that are retiring and still paying their student loans. I have a friend who's a dentist who went to UF, as a matter of fact, and by the time they finished, they had over $400,000 in student loans because the dentist chair and the I don't know who and the I don't know what, and they did all that with student loans. It's a house, it's a mortgage.
And that was UF.
Paul was right. You can't do. Paul was right. When you file for bankruptcy, you can't include your student loans.
Nope, you cannot walk away. So you can you can lose your car and your rental property, but nope, you still have those loans. So I don't want to scare you, but remember that's not we'll talk about those later, but it could come back to haunt you very quickly, especially if you're going to grad school, but one thing at a time. All right, so federal money is the first chunk of where that kind of funding is going to come from. And then let's look at the state of Florida. This is a good deal. As frustrated as I am with their decision to uphold testing and the deadlines, I am just as thrilled that they've kept Bright Futures. So I'm going to give you the details, and then at the end, I'll show you what you need to do it, right? So Bright Futures is through the state of Florida. It is a merit scholarship. It does not matter how much money your parents make. They could be Trump or they could have no job. It doesn't matter. It's based on you and you alone. That's it. So I call it the Bright Futures application, which is wrong. That's incorrect. It's actually called the FFA, the Florida Financial Aid Application. And it's because it's good for Bright Futures and 10 other scholarships. It too opens October 1st. Can't do anything now. October 1st. Normally we do it together when like the school would sort of shut down for the PSAT. I would have all the seniors and we have, like little things to do. This was one of them. I'm not sure when we're going to see each other again, if at all. So I'll make sure we get through this too. It's just as quick of an application, a couple of minutes. All you have to do is submit it to the state. You don't do anything else. No test scores, no transcripts, nothing. It just tells the state, yeah, I'm interested. I might stick around after high school to go to school in Florida. That's all. Even if you're not eligible yet for Bright Futures, if you don't have the test scores, I don't care. Do it anyway, because you actually have all year, all the way through June of next year to get an SAT or an ACT score. So I want you to get this application just done and out of the way so you don't like forget about it later. And this is what you get. There are 3 levels of Bright Futures. We're not going to look at the bottom one because it only, it doesn't go to universities. They don't accept them. It's good for like tech schools or certificate programs. And I'll tell you right now, to be a welder or an aviation mechanic probably makes much better money, much quicker than many of our college degrees will. But yeah, that's where the 3rd one goes to. Yeah, look into welding. Also look into elevator inspector. That's a conversation for another day. I learned something about them. Okay, I'll just share it with you. I learned they make $52 an hour coming straight out of the program. It's union backed, so you can't do worse than 52 bucks an hour. But I digress. Anyway, you took enough classes to get to university, so let me focus. If not, then elevator inspecting is the way to go. There are two top levels of Bright Futures. The first one, Academic Scholars, pays 100% tuition. The whole thing, tuition, not your dorm and not your food. Those are your cost. You control where you live and how much you eat. But Bright Futures will pay for your classes. And it's not a set amount of money. I can't even tell you it's $5,000, it's $8,000. It's tuition. So if you take 5 classes, it pays for your 5 classes. If you only take 3, it pays for those 3. So it pays 100% of tuition for 4 years. It gives you a couple $100 a month. I'm sorry, a semester. 300 for books, which I'll tell you right now is not enough. Books are ridiculously expensive, but at least it's something. It also pays for summer sessions. So you could go all year and try to get out quicker, or I don't know, study abroad in Italy when they open the borders back up again, if it's safe, if ever. But it would pay for that, for example, tuition. The second level, Florida Medallion, is 75% tuition, which pays 75% tuition of whatever state school you go to, including summers, which just started this year, by the way. And that bottom line there is why I think this is, well, among the reasons why I think this is amazing. It's good for 5 years. So if right now, if you graduate and you're not like, I'm not going to go to college, I'm going to take a gap year, I'm going to join the military, or hey, I'm going to school in Boston, I don't need this, I'm still going to make you do it, because 5 years is a lot of life. You don't know what changes on a dime, let alone in 5 years. So if you decide to come back to Florida, if the college didn't work out for you, if just life happens, you could still come back and start UCF for free for 4 years, as long as it's within 5 years of your graduation. But you have to do Bright Futures senior year. You have to qualify for it now. You can't come back and do it after high school, which is why I'm insistent like crazy about you getting this application done. But ultimately, the big news, how do I get it? So here's the chart for all 3. Also, remember, this is all on my college advising tab. That first column, the academic scholars, I don't want you to worry or look at anything except for the test scores. These GPAs are weighted. Remember what I told you about your higher of the 2? Yes, they redo it. They will. They actually redo it differently than the state of Florida even. It still blows my mind that to get into UF, they weight your GPA, an extra bonus point for AP and dual enrollment, and half for honors. But yet the scholarship program, also run by the state of Florida, will only give you half of a GPA boost for AP in honors. But whatever, either way, again, I'm not worried about this at all. I'm not sugarcoating. It's a non-issue at this school. When I give this presentation to other schools, I worry, but not you guys. Don't worry about the GPA, you got it. Don't worry about the classes. You guys have got it. Like I said, the extra math, the extra English. We made you take foreign languages. Other schools don't. The community service hours, I think I told you before, you don't need 100 hours to graduate high school in Dade County, but to get Bright Futures, you do. So TERRA built that in. So all of that extra work was designed for you to get to where we're talking about. However, you do need to get those test scores. They're not crazy high, but they are not low. They are not simple, not difficult, but not simple, which is why usually students at this point have taken the test a couple of times to super score those scores. So the bad news is you still need them. They have not dropped that as a requirement, and I can tell you right now they're not going to. But at least you have all the way till June. Let's hope that our world is in a place where it's more easily accessible, more comfortable to take tests, so that by June of right before you graduate, even after 2021, you have at least a combination of either of these scores. And it could be either. You can have the ACT or the SAT, but you need that to finish off your eligibility for Bright Futures. Ultimately, May 1st, you decide what college you're going to. We log back on to your Bright Futures application, say, yep, I'm going to FIU, I'm going to UF. They know where the bill is coming from. You know, you tell them where it's going to go, and boom, the money is yours. You don't have to win it. You don't have to write an essay for it. It is yours. If you earn it, it is yours in the state of Florida. Got it? Okay. You have it for all 4 years of college, by the way, as long as you don't blow it. So the bottom line there explains how. For the middle award, 75%, you need a 2.75. For the 100% tuition, you need a 3.0 GPA in college. There's no weights in college, by the way. So those are A's and B's, maybe a C, as long as you got an A. So it is very doable. Of the kids who have lost their Bright Futures, it's not because stuff was hard. It's because they made it hard. They didn't show up to class. They partied a little too much. And their grades suffered. So D's and F are not okay. But A's, B's, and C's will keep your Bright Futures for their entire high school career. I'm sorry, college career. It's pretty cool. Okay, winding down here. Look, these are the other scholarships that you could get through that Bright Futures application, the FFA. So like I said, even if you're not yet eligible for Bright Futures yet, you have till June, there are some others that might pop in on your financial aid packages. That's why I really am adamant about you all doing your applications with me or getting it done. All right, moving on, a couple more, and that's it, I promise. More money is going to come from your college, your institution. FIU has amazing merit money. UF, Florida State, all of them, all of them. The only ones that really don't have much merit money are the selective schools. At an Ivy League school, you don't get money from Yale because you're smart. That's not a thing. Everybody's smart there. There you get money because of your need. But like I said, with that Accredi story, the need goes very high. However, you have to know the schools you're applying to and what scholarships they offer. Because though the amounts are different, so is their applications for them. FIU has its own scholarship application just for FIU. There's a separate application and there's an essay you have to write. The last 2 years it had to do something with who you want to eat dinner with and why. Doesn't mean it's going to be that way this year. But that's FIU. That's how they pick their merit money. UF doesn't, at least so far this year, have an extra application. They just give extra money to some of the top applications that they get. Same thing with UCF. But you have to know what and when. It really drives me nuts when kids are at FIU and I'm like, oh my gosh, your scores are great or average, whatever. Did you apply for the ambassador? And they're like, what? No, I didn't know. Like, so for example, just in this example, FIU, some of their top scholarships, which our kids get every year, I don't mean 1 or 2, I mean like 100, a lot. Their presidential and ambassador is 100% tuition. Follow me, right? So you get the ambassador or presidential award from FIU, 100% tuition. You already have Bright Futures, 100% tuition. They don't keep that money. You get it back. Whatever's paid, once your bill is zero, you get the rest back. All comes to you, which is why, and I know you've heard this, so many of our kids specifically make money going to college. Now, yeah, they might be living at home, but you're okay living at home. Your life isn't that awful where, yeah, sure, you'll bank $7,500 a year after your costs are paid and your books through Bright Futures to stay at home with your mom, or maybe you plunk that right down an apartment or a dorm. So that's how these things work. I just beg you, please check the financial aid page of the schools now. I'm asking you to do 2 things: admissions pages, so you know what to do, and financial aid pages, so you know what money's out there and how to get it. Because that's a big, big deal. And it's very difficult to turn down a school, even if it's not your first choice, because the money that they're giving you is too good. It's too good to pass up, too good to pass up. But you have to know what to do and how to do it, and also by when. Lastly, money comes from, as I mentioned, private companies like Taco Bell. So they don't care what college you go to. They just know if you want it, cool. We're going to send a check for $20,000 because of your cool little 2-minute video to Chicago. Neat. So when your parents bug you about, why don't you apply for scholarships? This is what they mean. So it's the companies, it's the Wendy's, the McDonald's, the Kohl's at Town and Country, the TERRA PTSA has their own. So it's the scholarships that come from a separate place than the government, the state, or your college. And there are a ton of sites that list these, excuse me, a ton. I don't need to be bogged down with checking them all. That's nuts. Some of them are, you have to pay for. Don't ever. So these are the best. They really are. Fastweb.com. It's also on my college advising tab, so you can keep track of these, is like the mother site that lists scholarships that all other sites do as well. But Fastweb stands by the fact, I haven't seen anything contrary to doubt it yet. They stand by the fact that they vet, they research these scholarships. They're not just a company that's going to take $5 grand from, you know, McDonald's to like promote their scholarship. If they do promote on their site, it's because there's something about it that matches you or matches the organization that you're applying to. Oh, thank you. So Fastweb is free. Like I said, you log on, you answer a series of questions, and every day you get emailed scholarships that match you, for you. So you don't have to go through like a ton that are like, well, that was a waste. I can't even apply. So that's pretty cool. Big Future is the College Board site. They have their own scholarship tab. So is CapEx. And yet Fastweb pulls those too. So I don't want you to waste your time looking for them. My problem, if you will, with private scholarships is sometimes they're really hard to get. I'm not going to talk you out of doing them. You can't win if you don't play. But when McDonald's or Coca-Cola has amazing scholarships and you get blinded by the zeros, know that you're competing with tens of thousands of other kids, maybe for just a couple. So I really get nervous seeing some kids who only go nuts, apply. Yes, keep doing that. But I want you to be applying for the scholarships your college offers, with as much rigor and enthusiasm as the McDonald's one. Because odds are you're going to get the one from FIU much easier than you are going to get the Coca-Cola one. So I don't want you to spread yourself too thin, just like I said with college applications. When I would rather you go all in with the ones that make sense, that are eligible. Like I said, every year TERRA PTSA gives out 15. They're only $500. But you just spent 2 days in an essay on the $500 one from Kohl's, which 20,000 kids applied for 5. And now, I mean, there's 15 TERRA kids. So you see what I'm getting at. I don't want to talk you out of it by any means. But I also see kids who go nuts, usually in spring, when there's not much left, there's no college applications, and I see them apply to so many, and that's cool, but I don't want you to miss the ones that would give you the most money and then with the best odds. So please keep that in mind. That last bullet, raise.me, is a micro scholarship site. They give out little dollar amounts for certain schools. If FIU is on your radar at all, whether you're going to apply now, later, or never, please make sure you finish raise.me, because that's merit money that will come straight back to you if you go to FIU. So really big deal. Please have that ready. So many kids walk away from a few thousand a year. It's like 10 grand over 4 years. Are you kidding? You're okay with it? And then I'm going to end with a couple of extra private scholarships that I think are pretty cool. One of them, Questbridge, and you might be hearing some of your peers talk about this now. It's going to sound like I'm talking you out of it. It's a ton of work. It is an unbelievably difficult scholarship to get. It's essays on your side, essays on my side, essays on the school official side, letters of recommendation. The deadline is like in a couple of weeks. It's a lot, but it's because of the payoff. What you get out of it is a full ride. That's not just tuition. That's tuition, it's dorm, it's food, it's your laptop, it's the shoes that you're wearing. It's, oops, I dropped my laptop in the snow. Let me get another one. Full ride to some of the top colleges in the world, MIT, Columbia, Stanford, UPenn, I mean, the best of the best. And it's binding. So you have to go. So you're basically telling Columbia, look, I'm going to go nuts. I'm going to kill myself to get this application done. And then if Columbia picks you for free, everything, you have to go. So if that's one where you're like, but I don't know, I might want to go to Florida State. So then don't do Questbridge. Don't, because you are bound to that school. But I could think of a lot of worse things in this world than being forced to go to Columbia for free for 4 years. So you still have to get in. This is not like an easy way or a back door into MIT. You still have to be good enough to get into MIT. It's just a matter of funding that they use through this private organization. And it's hard. Like I said, it's a need-based scholarship. So you do have to need money to go. You can't, just be Trump's kids and be able to walk into UPenn. And you also have to be the best of the best in the school that you're coming from. So we don't have ranks yet. They come out like right before Questbridge is due, but they will not, I want to save you time. They will not accept mediocre kids who have mediocre incomes. You have to be needy and you have to be brilliant. If that's your perfect world, boom, Questbridge might be something you need to consider stat, because there's a lot of work that we all have to do together, and it's due soon, like I said. So something coming up. I'm going to skip College Board for a second. Miami Foundation is a private scholarship only for Miami-Dade High School graduates. That's it. You can't even get it if you go to Columbus or Belen. It's only public schools. It's a private organization where very wealthy donors drop money only for kids to help with college. I am on the committee. There are 4 of us. I am on the committee. I'm on the committee. I'm on the committee. I can pick and choose who gets this. I'm on the committee. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? I'm on the committee. Last year, we had more money to give than applications. So we just, we had extra. We can't like go back and give more money to the kids who won. It's not crazy amounts. It's not Taco Bell money, but it's maybe $2,000, $2,500 a year. So 10 grand over 4 years helps. I'm on the committee. So when that opens in March, I'm on the committee. Remember that. Lastly, we'll end with what I think is really cool. College Board has their own private scholarships. And maybe they should, because they charge a lot for you to take your SAT, like you have to send scores. So they started last year, and I was kind of nervous to see how this is going to go. And now I'm all in, because I know our kids get it. So once they prove it to me, and like real humans that I look at are benefiting, then yeah, I'll jump on board. So they award levels of money. Look, it's not crazy money, but every little bit counts. For doing things that you should be doing anyway. You should be coming up with a college list. The College Board has their own website to do that. You should be using Khan Academy. Step 2, 6 hours now enters you into their lottery, basically, to win these tiers of money. So you bust out 6 hours on Khan Academy. They know that. Now, everyone who did 6 hours in that time period, and they give parameters by months, bam, is entered to win $1,000. That part is straight lottery. But when I started seeing last year, I get the email saying, oh, by the way, Ms. Vivian, will you call down Margie Flores? She won $1,000 for practice for the SAT. And I get to call you at a homeroom hey, look at this. And you're like, oh, are you kidding me? Oh, cool. That's $1,000 for doing stuff you should be doing. Your FAFSA, you're all gonna do the FAFSA. I go nuts making sure that happens. Like, we win awards for it. $1,000, you're gonna do it. May as well be entered into a competition run by the College Board for $1,000. At the end of the year, if you've accomplished all 6 steps, you don't have to, you could do each one, you know, in isolation, but if you did all 6, then they are awarding 25, not a ton, but 25 kids in the United States, 25 internationally, 25 in the United States will get $40,000. That's pretty cool for doing what you are supposed to be doing. So look at that. Once I shut up, you have your College Board account, you're already on it. Opportunity scholarships just open. So you should be already looking at step 1 and step 2, if that. Step 3, it's if you take your SAT twice and you improve your score. See how the world hates Miami-Dade County this year. But anyway, so pretty cool. And I end with that one because I want you to get that money. And like I said, last year we had a good handful who did. So that's where I stop. A lot of information. This one will be recorded. So whether I put this one online or do others, I want you to know there's a lot going on. Ms. Vega's here to help. I'm here to help. Ms. Flores is here to help. Ms. Waldrop. We're all really good at this, really good. So whatever you need from us, we'll jump in. Planning and motivation will get you to where you need to go. Whew. So I shall shut up. Any questions?